Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's Clay. Today I thought I would do something maybe a little less serious than my normal topics. And it all kind of starts with a story. So I was at my parents' house and my mom is an INFP. And I don't know if you've noticed about INFPs and ENFPs, but they're often a little more, spiritually connected. That's what I notice. I think generally speaking, those two personalities sort of gravitate more towards spirituality. It's just an anecdotal observation that I've made. So in my parents' house, I'm over there for dinner. They have a lot of things around, a lot of interesting things. They travel and they bring stuff back. Anyway, my mom has got a number of books. She actually has a degree in psychology, and so she's got a lot of different interesting books. I'm always picking them up and looking at them. Anyway, she had this book on all the birthdays. It's astrology. Generally speaking, I would think that astrology is maybe nonsense. I mean, how could the month that I was born or the day that I was born have any weight upon who I am as a person? So me and my dad were about 4 days apart, our birthdays. And, we're pretty different people, but we're both born in July, and like Leos are supposed to have all these qualities. Anyway, I've never really gravitated to any of that stuff. But I saw this book sitting there, and look at it. Here it is right here. It's a really big, thick book. And it has basically a write-up on every single birthday in this book. So that piqued my interest, and obviously I wanted to open it up and read what it had to say about me. So I think subconsciously when I first pick up this book, I'm probably thinking the point of me reading this is to sort of point out how inaccurate it is. My mom naturally is really into this kind of stuff, all kinds of things, and more things that I could probably ever even understand. Like, she's got a lot going on in this area. And yeah, I'm not saying I disagree with it. These days I'm trying to keep an open mind towards anything. I mean, for all I know, anything could be right or true. Maybe the secret is just to kind of keep your eyes open and take a look at things. So that being said, probably the point of me picking this up originally was to prove that it was inaccurate. But kind of funny. So I open up the book, and who do I see? Who's the person they got the picture of here? So that's Carl Jung. So it turns out I have the same birthday as Carl Jung. So Carl Jung is generally considered the founder or grandfather of all this psychological type stuff, which is really interesting. The whole Myers-Briggs system was based on his research and writings. And Jungian psychology in general has had a massive influence on psychology as a discipline. And the guy has a lot to say. I mean, I think if you actually look into Jung, there was a lot of kind of weird, crazy stuff going on with him as well, I think. But at the same time, he had all these genius ideas, and so he's just a really interesting person. So I thought it was a little bit ironic that, here I am talking about INFJ stuff all the time on these videos, which is basically founded by Carl Jung, and then I open it up and we have the same birthday. So at first I'm like, okay, coincidence. So I started reading the description here of what the July 26th people are like. Should I say what my birthday is on here? I don't know. And I was actually shocked how accurate it was describing me. I'm a pretty, I don't want to sound pretentious or something, but I'm a fairly unique person. You can't really easily describe me, to be honest. And I think if I opened up a book that just describes people, you wouldn't generally just sort of happen upon a description that describes me well. But I was surprised, this actually does describe me to an interesting level. So I thought it might be fun if I kind of read this out today and kind of point out, some interesting things about what this says about me. However, I kind of thought that maybe it'd be weird if I was reading it, because I think half the time with personality stuff is you can't even really see yourself clearly, and maybe other people that are close to you might see you better, or in different ways, I guess, at least. So I want to bring somebody else on here to read this, somebody else who knows me really well. So you may have heard me talk about in other videos, I have this INFJ friend. And I think I had mentioned before I had 2 or 3 different INFJ friends, but I think now I have basically disproven that. Those other ones were ENFPs, actually. So the other 2 INFJs were ENFPs. They just got INFJ on the test and sort of held to that. But I really only have one INFJ friend. And to be honest, I think I only know one INFJ in real life that I can really pinpoint. And so that's her. Her name's Lexi. So we've been friends for quite a long time, maybe 8 years. And I would say we've been like good friends for maybe 5 of those years. And sort of as time went on, we got closer and closer. So it's been an interesting relationship because we are very similar. And I think in the beginning we were both kind of intrigued by this, right? Because we're not really used to meeting people that are like us. And it was just a really interesting growth experience, I guess, when I started getting to know her. And to be honest, it wasn't all like smooth sailing all the time. I think that we were kind of like, would almost grind against each other sometimes. We would disagree, and sometimes we would have like fights, and we'd be having like literal text fights. Should I say this? But I think through those experiences, it was really interesting what happened to me. I grew a lot as a person. I learned a lot about myself. She would like call things out in me that maybe I didn't really know were there, maybe certain attitudes I had, behaviors I had. She would call those out in a way that nobody else ever had. And, you know, at first maybe I'd be defensive. But over time, you know, we would do this to each other, and we would have extremely deep conversations about things that really nobody else wanted to have conversations about. And so about a year ago, our relationship kind of evolved past friends, and now we are in a relationship. So anyway, I'm going to bring her in now, and then I'm going to get her to read this and sort of get her thoughts on what this book says about me according to the stars. Hey.
Hi.
All right, so maybe we'll just read it and see what it has to say. I don't really know what this video is about yet, but we'll see.
July 26th, the day of the symbolic herald. July 26th people are strongly dominant personalities. Agree. You don't want to say anything?
So I guess dominant in what way? Because like...
I would say that people in your life have found you intimidating, and I think that that is a reason to consider yourself a strongly dominant personality.
Okay.
However, the authority they wield is rarely of a physical or financial nature, but rather lies in understanding the truth of their times, not only understanding them, but also personifying them in their activities and actions.
See, I think that's an interesting statement, because if there was one thing that described me, it would be like the pursuit of truth. And it's almost like my goal is to find the truth and to like strip away all the nonsense that exists. So that's an interesting statement, to say the least. When I first read that, I was just like, that is extremely accurate. I mean, I don't know.
Well, because it's not only understanding the truth, it's understanding them and personifying them with activities and actions. And so I think that your deep dive into these things, and not only to understand them yourself, but to explain them to other people, would be an accurate description.
All right.
When July 26 people comment on the state of things, they usually know whereof they speak, for their authority is deeply rooted in experience and often in profound knowledge of their discipline as well. I would say that every single time you do one of these videos, you research it to death, and you still don't even think you're informed enough to have an opinion, but you most certainly are. So I think that you only really like to research things that you have that deep-rooted experience in. And so I would say that that is accurate.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what was it again? Read it again.
When July 26 people comment on the state of things, they usually know whereof they speak, for their authority is deeply rooted in experience and often a profound knowledge of their discipline as well.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too, because I think one of my problems in life is I'll spend like months like turmoiling over an issue. Is that an adjective? I don't know. But I'll come to this place where I sort of come to a conclusion, and I'll just sort of like state it to people. And often people are so confused, or they haven't had that same time to come to those conclusions, and a lot of it is often very countercultural. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've had to learn, is to remember that not everybody else has had the same amount of time as I've had to come to a conclusion. So it's like scary accurate so far. So
Exceptional people born on this day may be regarded as prophets of a kind, trumpeting their message to all that will heed it. I mean, I would say you definitely trumpet your message to all that will heed it. I think that you like helping other people explore different concepts and different things in their life.
So here's a true story. Back when, so I was raised a Christian, as I've talked about on this channel before, and I've actually had people tell me before that I have a prophetic gift. That's what I've had multiple Christians tell me that, which I always thought, I'm not prophesizing. It's just intuition, right? And what did it say?
Exceptional people born on this day may be regarded as prophets of a kind, trumpeting their message to all that will heed it.
I don't know if I'm trumpeting my message to everybody that will heed it, but maybe. It's like, I don't know.
July 26 people may appear a bit one-dimensional, for rather than seeking widely varying forms of experience, they usually limit themselves to one important field of endeavor. In this specialized area, they bring to bear everything that they know about life. So I would say this is kind of maybe a half-truth. I think that you get tunnel visioned, and when you are into something, you go all in. Like knife sharpening, for example. Knife sharpening right now has taken over your spare time.
Well, maybe not all my spare time.
Hour-long videos.
I like to sharpen knives. It's it's random, but I like to make knives razor sharp. It's satisfying.
Scary sharp.
Scary sharp. Yeah.
Extra stabby. But you do that for many things, but generally only one at a time. So I would give that a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Many born on this day come to hold extensive influence in their family, social circle, or society at large. This is because they have a way of expressing what those around them are feeling, perhaps even becoming living symbols of unconscious social attitudes which have lain dormant. Well, I don't know. I've read some comments on your videos, and I would say that at least for an INFJ circle, which I could consider your social circle or society at large, that you do have a way of expressing what those around them are feeling. Lots of these people feel that way, do they not?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of weird, because I wouldn't really consider that I have like large social influence normally. But it just seems like maybe lately on YouTube, maybe I have a little bit of social influence.
This may have the unfortunate result of them so completely filling a role that they become unable to make contact with the deeper, more feeling parts of themselves necessary for creating a well-rounded personality. I don't know if I agree with that one. I think that you are an incredibly deep person who can be pretty in touch with themselves. But
I think that maybe that's a newer phenomenon as well. I think in the past I struggled to know who I was. That was a big struggle of mine. I often would struggle with how I even felt about things, because I was so wrapped up in how other people wanted me to feel, if that makes sense. But
at some point in their lives, they may have to make a firm decision and come down off their pedestal and refuse to allow others to put them up there again. I don't know. I feel like you're generally quite a humble person. So I would disagree with that sentence. I don't think that you are one to put yourself on a pedestal. And I don't think you even easily allow others to put you on any kind of pedestal without refusing it.
yeah, that's true. Maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Well,
see.
I mean, that's like probably the first bit, but July 26 people are anything but conservative in their outlook. They often espouse quite outrageous viewpoints, which can arouse antagonism from those who uphold the status quo. Well, that I think is 100% accurate. I feel like you come into like your Christian friend group like a wrecking ball, so I would say that Definitely you are anything but conservative in your outlook.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Like a wrecking ball?
You don't?
Just recently, I was hanging out with some friends. We were around a campfire. And I just casually dropped that I had been reading about anarchy and that maybe it had some good points. And everybody looked at me like I was a crazy person. So,
Fortunately, they display a self-confidence that rarely wavers, regardless of the opponent. Well, I think that's true. Given, I feel like you've already briefly discussed our arguments and debates over time, and I would say that your self-confidence does rarely waver when it comes to a decision that you've made or an outlook that you have or a perspective that you've really dug deep in.
I think that's the confusing thing too, though, is that in some areas, in some ways, I'm super confident about it, and I think people can find me quite maybe intimidating when it's a topic that I'm like passionate about. But then I think maybe it's just like in the past I wasn't very confident. I was, pretty self-conscious about many things, and people could push me around in other areas. So, but I think, a lot of that was due to certain things that kind of caused unhealthy behavior, and at this point in my life, maybe I think I've coming out of that.
Not surprisingly, those born on this day are gamblers by nature. Often fatally attracted to difficult and even dangerous situations, they tend to lay it all on the line when the going gets tough and hang on until satisfactory resolution or conclusion has been reached. Yes. I mean, even your hobbies. You like to pursue motorcycles, dirt bikes, mountain bikes, rock climbing. All of that I would consider a gamble by nature and a fatal attraction to difficult and even dangerous situations. But even in your personal life, outside of hobbies, that you tend to lay it on the line, and when the going gets tough, you hang on until a satisfactory resolution or conclusion has been reached. I think that's also your general approach to life.
It's kind of true about actually rock climbing. I don't really talk about climbing much on this channel, but many people have pointed out to me that my style of climbing is just a little too gung-ho. Like, I will try too hard sometimes to the point where I'll blow my finger. Like, one time I shouldn't have been I was crimping so hard to a point where anybody else would have let go. And then I just blew my finger. That's one thing about climbing. You kind of have to know when to let go sometimes so that you don't injure yourself. That's one of my biggest struggles, or I'm like, I'll kind of forget what I'm even doing, and I'll just go for it and like hurl myself through the air trying to finish something. And I'll miss it and fly back. So that's accurate in climbing, but probably also accurate in all my philosophical, psychological, business-related pursuits as well.
July 26 people make little effort to sugarcoat the pill of truth. They tell it like it is, straight out and blunt, sometimes displaying more concern for the safeguarding of the truth than for the feelings of their fellow man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gotten me into a lot of trouble over the years, that exact thing. If something I feel like is the truth, I feel like it doesn't need sugarcoating. It's just the truth. It's just a fact. You know what I mean? I have a hard time with that. It's something that I've tried to work on, is to try to deliver things softer and more, what's the word?
Just with more regard to how they'll be received, maybe. You have gotten better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I guess you would know.
I would know. However, individuals born on this day who take the time and trouble to get to know themselves as flesh and blood people develop greater empathy and tame their aggressions, and will better equip them most to express the best they have inside them. So that is the general overview of the July 26th person. But there's a separate section for numbers and planets, tarot, health, and advice.
We should probably say that neither of us really are into this kind of thing. I mean, I would say both of us are pretty much like realists. So we both try to find out what's obvious. What is the, is it,
Oh, it's more just like trying to dissolve things into the logic that created them. And I think that when it comes to astrology, both of us have found maybe the basis to be a little weak, but this book in particular has been an interesting experience for both of us. So,
yeah.
Numbers and planets. Those born on the 26th of the month are ruled by the number 8, because 2 plus 6 equals 8, and by the planet Saturn. Saturn carries strong feelings of responsibility and an accompanying tendency to caution, limitation, and fatalism. Thus, the more traditional tendencies of July 26 people are favored. Those ruled by the number 8 may actually be quite warm-hearted, but can present a cold or detached exterior. Yes, I would say that frequently you can come off a little more reserved or detached, but I think people that know that you are quite warm on the interior.
I mean, it's a little weird, right? I don't know. I don't know what's up with this book. I don't know how this thing actually is saying such accurate stuff. Especially when I flipped, because after I read this the first time, I was like, well, this is weird. Will anything describe me? So I flipped to some other pages just to see, and it was like, obviously, no, not describing me. So, I mean,
Well, even the difference between our birthdays, I think, is quite drastic, even though we're quite similar.
yeah, we did her birthday as well. And it was also, what do you think? I think it was pretty accurate. Maybe not quite as accurate as this, but it was like, there was a few things that were like, yes.
I mean, even it went over what I studied in school. Like, it was kind of weird. They also tend to build their lives and careers slowly and carefully, particularly true for July 26 people in regard to money matters. Yes, I would say how you built your business was definitely slowly and carefully.
Yeah, like when it comes to businesses, I'm like not really the type of person that like gets a bunch of like loans and then just hires a bunch of people and just hits it really hard. I prefer to start things slowly on the side. Like I try to have my main money maker, and then I'll slowly start something new on the side and build it, and then slowly put more and more effort and resources into it. So that's accurate.
The combined influence of Saturn and the Sun, the ruler of Leo, grants intensity but also a curious lack of true self-confidence, a fact sometimes hidden behind external bravado. I think that's very true.
That's me word for word, so that's weird. I don't know.
Next section is the tarot. The 8th card of the major arcana is Strength or Courage, which depicts a graceful queen taming a furious lion. The queen symbolizes the female magician who can master rebellious energies and stand for moral as well as physical strength. The card's positive attributes include charisma and a determination to succeed. The negative qualities include complacency and the misuse of power. Well, I don't know if I've ever seen you misuse power, but I definitely think that you can be extremely charismatic and you definitely have a determination to succeed. So, I mean, maybe just no one's giving you enough power for you to misuse it.
That's true. I haven't really had a lot of power, so can't really say what you'll do with power until you get it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe this Christians, they always want power. They're always voting for power. They always want to vote laws that support Christianity. But like when you look at history, at when Christians have gained power, it's been a complete nightmare. Obviously, we're now burning people at the stake. We're starting holy wars. Yeah. So that's another aside. I don't know if I'll actually put that in the video.
And the next section is health. Due to their dynamic nature, July 26 people have to keep in good physical condition or they will burn out. It is so true of your general outlook on physical fitness. I feel like if you don't work out for 48 hours, you are so hard on yourself and you're like, man, I just need to work out. I need to do something physical. Let's go bike up a mountain or go to the gym or go on a hike or do something. So I would say
It's true.
Getting regular sleep and adequate nutrition may be difficult with their often frenetic schedules. Well, I think that's kind of funny because I think you're the most regimented sleeper that I know. And adequate nutrition, you're also probably the most intense person on health. So, I don't know. I think that you nail that one.
Probably true.
But maybe you just work at it.
Yeah.
Regular sexual gratification and expression is important to both men and women born on this day. Lack of it may produce psychological frustrations as well as minor physical ailments.
I mean, really, who can't say that, though? Who can't say that?
Rarely voracious carnivores, July 26 people do surprisingly well on vegetarian diets. Well, I mean, you do eat meat, but really all you eat is chicken, and probably for only one meal of the day, so.
She's vegetarian, and I eat a little bit of meat, so. But I do eat a lot of, like, vegan meals and vegetarian meals as well, but one of my favorite foods is Thai curry, like red or green curry, and I just feel like it needs chicken in it, to be honest.
Moderate physical exercise, such as walking and swimming, generally suits such diets perfectly. Well, I definitely don't think you do moderate physical exercise. I think when you exercise, you go hard, but...
Yeah.
Above all, being able to share affection with a few close friends is vitally important to the preservation of their psychological health.
Very true.
Yep. I think that you are a few friend person, but you need them to be close and affectionate.
Yeah. I think I burn out a lot of friends because of that. They don't want it as close as I want it, which has actually been one really nice thing with the two of us, is I feel like we both want the same level of depth in the relationship. So it's actually really nice.
Advice. Take a rest from yourself occasionally and let others do the same. Is this telling you to give other people some space?
Yeah.
Remember, you are just another part of everything around you. Cultivate humility and humanity. And your meditation is, a tree has many leaves and branches, but only one trunk. I don't really know what that means, but...
Seems like that means whatever you want it to mean.
I'm going to throw that in the astrology chunk of things. Oh, and we've got your strengths. We've got strengths, dynamic, influential, and attractive. Well, I would agree with all of those. And weaknesses, provocative, blunt, and difficult. I would probably also agree with all of those.
I probably am difficult at times, especially to people who are trying to control me. I am now just basically allergic to control. And if anybody tries to manipulate me, I'm extremely difficult. So I will agree with that. And also, look at Mick Jagger. Same birthday as Mick Jagger.
You got the moves like Jagger?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We read her birthday as well, and it was also accurate. I mean, am I saying, what am I saying here? What am I saying by doing this video? That I now believe in astrology? No, I don't believe in astrology, but it's kind of fun. I don't know. I think a lot of people are scared of reading things like this for some reason because it might contradict their own beliefs, but I don't really believe in that anymore. I feel like it's okay to like check things out. I think it's extremely coincidental how accurate this is for me. Like, there was a few things, but I would say in general, this thing is like 95% right. And to be honest, I can't really explain that. So it's a little strange, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty strange. I think mine was strange too, so I can't knock it.
To be honest, I almost want to look into like how they come up with this stuff now. Like, where does this even come from?
Through that.
Maybe I'll look into it because I think it's a little, I don't know, it's worth reading about at least to understand it. But like, am I into astrology now? Like, am I now supporting that and like trying to broadcast that? No. So I don't want anybody misunderstanding that.
Well, this is nice. An effort has been made to include as many women notables as possible.
Yeah, I think we read in here, like, you know, if you're born at like 11 p.m., right? It depends what time zone. Like, if you're born on the West Coast versus the East Coast, you would be born on a different day, right? So I think we read in here that if you're sort of born on the fringe of 2 days, you might actually have to read the other date to actually find out what yours is. Which kind of is an interesting question, right? Like, what day are you really born on? Like, what is the master time zone? Like, if you're born in China, versus the United States, like you're going to be born on a different day. So that's kind of weird to think about. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video. Hope you got something out of it, maybe some entertainment at the very least. And I hope you have a good day. See ya.